Once, they were worshipped as protectors, gods of light, fertility, and wisdom. They guided the hearts of men, shaped nature and blessed kingdoms. But when new beliefs rose, their temples fell, and their names were whispered in fear. Pan became the devil, Lilith became a monster, Baal turned into a curse. What happened to these gods who once ruled the heavens? Were they truly evil, or simply misunderstood? Tonight, we'll uncover the truth behind the gods that humanity chose to demonize, and what their stories say about us. The rise and fall of forgotten gods. Every civilization creates gods in its own image, and every era destroys them to build new ones. When empires collapsed, their deities didn't die. They were rewritten. The conquerors didn't just seize land, they conquered faith. The old gods, once sacred, were rebranded as evil to justify the new order. Baal, once the Stormbringer, became the prince of demons. Pan, the wild spirit of nature, turned into the image of Satan himself. These transformations weren't accidents. They were tools of control. To destroy a people, you first destroy what they believe in and replace their gods with fear. But deep within these stories lies a pattern. What was once divine was turned into darkness, not because it was evil, but because it was free. Pan, the wild god, turned devil in ancient Greece. Pan was the laughter of the forest, half-man, half-goat, a joyful symbol of life's untamed beauty. He represented passion, music, and the primal connection between humans and nature. But when Christianity spread through Europe, Pan's horns and hooves became something else entirely. Artists merged his image with the idea of the devil, the fallen angel, the tempter. Why? Because nature itself, with all its desires, chaos, and pleasure, was seen as sinful. The wilderness had to be tamed, and Pan had to fall. The result was a centuries-long fear of the very instincts that make us human. The devil's horns we imagine today. They once belonged to a god who celebrated life. Lilith, the first rebel before Eve. There was Lilith not born from Adam's rib, but his equal. In ancient Sumerian and Babylonian myths, Lilith was the spirit of the night wind, fierce and free. But in later texts, she refused to obey Adam, and for that, she was exiled. Her independence became her curse. Over time, priests and scribes recast her as a demon who preyed on newborns and men in their sleep. Yet, behind the fear lies something revolutionary. The story of a woman who refused submission. In modern times, Lilith has risen again as a symbol of feminine power and rebellion. Perhaps she was never a monster, just a reminder that freedom often frightens those who seek control. Baal, the cursed king of storms in Canaan. And Phoenicia Baal was worshipped as the god of thunder, fertility, and life-giving rain. Farmers prayed for his storms. His lightning was seen as divine energy. But when monotheistic faiths rose, Baal's worship was declared heresy. His name was twisted into Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies, a demon of corruption. What changed? Nothing but perspective. The same thunder that once meant life became a sign of wrath. This is the tragedy of Baal. Didn't he fall from grace? Humanity turned its back on him. The transformation of Baal from god to demon is a reflection of how power rewrites morality. When the victors write history, even the divine can be damned. Hades, the misunderstood judge, Hades ruled the underworld, not hell. To the ancient Greeks, he was not evil, but he maintained balance between life and death, ensuring that every soul received what it deserved. Yet later, retellings blurred that distinction, painting Hades as cruel, vengeful, and dark. The truth is simpler. People fear what they don't understand. Death, though inevitable, became a taboo, and so did the god who governed it. Hades never sought worship. He sought order. But stories need villains, and the god of the dead was an easy target. In misunderstanding Hades, humanity revealed its deepest fear, not of him, but of mortality itself. Why we demonize what we don't control across time. The pattern repeats. When something can't be controlled, it becomes dangerous. Wild nature, feminine independence, storm, and death. All beyond human grasp, all turned into symbols of evil. Pan, Lilith, Baal, and Hades represent forces that refused submission. They were not demons. They were reminders that power doesn't belong to one truth. Demonization is not about evil, it's about fear. And fear is the oldest tool of control. When you call a god devil, you erase its wisdom and replace it with obedience. But somewhere, in the ruins of temples and forgotten scriptures, the old gods still whisper, "We were never your enemies." Reflection, the mirror of the divine. Maybe the demons we fear are reflections of ourselves. Humanity projected its own chaos, desires, and mortality onto the divine, and called it evil. What if the fallen gods were simply mirrors, showing us the parts we refuse to see? Every shadow in mythology is born from light. Pan reminds us to embrace instinct. Lilith teaches defiance. Baal symbolizes power without purity. Hades reminds us of balance. In understanding them, we reclaim parts of ourselves that religion and history bury. So, who truly created demons, the gods, or us? Perhaps the answer lies not in heaven or hell, but in the human heart.
If these stories made you question what's truly good and what's been called evil, then don't let this be the end of your journey. Like the video to keep these forgotten gods alive. Leave a comment with the one you think was most misunderstood. And share this story with someone who still believes in the old myths. And if you seek more hidden truths and ancient mysteries, subscribe to Snap Clips. Because sometimes, what we fear the most once guided us.